Welcome to Fighting Stats, the ultimate channel for MMA fans who love statistics and betting breakdowns. I'm your host, Art C, and I'm here to get you ready for the upcoming UFC fights. In this series, I'll be watching tape and providing my real-time analysis on how I think the fights are going to go. I'll be watching for fighters' strengths, weaknesses, tendencies, and overall strategies, pairing that with Fighting Stats' exclusive UFC stats not available anywhere else to give you a prediction on how I think the fights are going to go and ultimately who's going to win. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome to Fighting Stats. Welcome back to Fighting Stats. I'm your host, Artsy, and today we are breaking down the UFC 297 fight between Malcolm X Gordon and Jimmy the Brick Flick. You're not going to want to miss it. We're going to go right into the stats first, and then we're going to follow it up by my breakdown, and then we'll get your best bets at the end of the video. So we're starting here with Malcolm Gordon. He's going to be here on the blue side, the left side. Jimmy Flick's going to be on the right side. So Malcolm Gordon is 2-4 in the UFC. Honestly, could be 0-6 if I'm being honest. One of those wins coming from an arm injury, and the other one, Figueiredo, little brother Figueiredo, sort of gave that fight away. In my mind, if you want to go back and watch the tape study, you can get my commentary on it. But overall, one win by KO, one win by decision. Of his 4 UFC losses, 50% by KO, 50% by submission. So 4 losses, 4 finished, never gone to a decision, never lost a decision. Jimmy Flick, on the other hand, 1-2 in the UFC. All of his wins, his 1 win by submission, all of his losses by KO. 2 KO losses, both of them by ground and pound. One of them, the Charles Johnson one, a little bit too early, and then the second one that we just watched, because of the leg kicks, did a lot of damage. So we're going to go detailed striking here. Malcolm Gordon, you can see 50% of his strikes landed have been at a distance, 14% of them in the clinch, and 36% of them on the ground. Not really a ground guy, but he has racked up some of his ground strikes there. Target breakdown, 91% of his targets thrown are towards the head, only 3% to the body, and 6% to the leg. Not a huge leg kicker, mostly a headhunter there. In terms of striking accuracy, 39% strike accuracy towards the head, 100% body accuracy, and only 64% leg accuracy. Strikes thrown by round, Malcolm Gordon is going to throw about 14 strikes in round 1, 35 strikes in round 2, and 10 in round 3. Same thing with landed, 3 in round 1, 14 in round 2, and 8 in round 3. Here we can go into the actual fight logs here, why his ground strikes. I just wanted to highlight here. So he's thrown 30 ground strikes, 26 of them have landed. One of them, basically that was from round 1 of the Francisco Figueiredo fight. If you go back and watch that, Francisco Figueiredo controlling most of round 1 there on top. Francisco Figueiredo rolls back for like a heel hook, actually giving top position to Malcolm Gordon. Malcolm Gordon raining down some ground and pound from the top position with about a minute left. That's where he got most of those strikes landed. So that's a big contributor to his 36% ground strike throwing. Just wanted to call that out there as just a minute of top time. Defensive striking here, 65% of the strikes landed against Gordon will be at a distance, 30% of them on the ground, and 5% in the clinch. Target against. When attacking Gordon, 76% of his strikes are towards the head, 15% towards the body, and 9% to the legs. Distance striking defense, 46 defense strike accuracy, not the greatest, not the best, 86 towards the body, and 100% leg accuracy. So any leg kick thrown towards him has landed there. Strikes absorbed by round, similar to his strike output, 16 in round 1, 24 absorbed in round 2, and only 2 in round 3. Strike absorbs go down as well. So we won't get into the detailed striking there. We're going to move down to Jimmy Flick striking. All right. Jimmy Flick striking is a little bit weird because he doesn't have a huge sample size. He is mostly a ground fighter, so does show that 100% of his strikes is at a distance. He does like to stand in kicking range, throw a lot of kicks there. Target breakdown is 63% head target, 19% towards the leg, and about another 19% towards the body. We did see that outside low kick a lot from Jimmy Flick, and then he does go high a little bit with the high kicks and question mark kicks. Striking accuracy, 33% head strike accuracy, 67 body strike accuracy, and 50% leg strike accuracy. You can see in the graph here, the sample size again pretty low, but 21 strikes thrown in round 1 on average, 1 strike thrown in round 2, only one round 2 there against Costa, and again his leg was messed up in that fight. All right, defensive striking. 78% of his strikes against are at a distance, 21% of the strikes against are at the ground, and only 2% in the clinch. Head target, 69% target against, 18 to the body against, and 13% against the leg. Defensive striking accuracy, so his striking defense, 59%. Head striking, not the greatest there. 78 to the body and 91 to the leg. Again, absorbs a bunch of strikes in round 1, drops off in round 2, but again, that's the sample size there. So let's get more into the grappling, because Jimmy Flick is more of a grappler than anything. Malcolm Gordon, a little bit both. He does want to get the fight down to the ground as well. So offensive grappling here for Malcolm Gordon. We talked about his striking breakdown here. Average takedowns by round, 0.8 attempted in round 1. 3 attempted in round 2, and 1 attempted in round 3, for 0.3 actually successful in round 1, 0.5 in round 2, and 0.5 in round 3. Reversals and submissions, does have some sub-attempts, 0.2 sub-attempts in round 1, 0.5 of sub-attempts in round 2 there. And then control actually goes up a lot by round 3. Again, this is mostly probably due to the sample size. So far in Malcolm Gordon's offensive grappling, he's attempted 13 takedowns, 4 of them being successful. He does have 2 sub-attempts and 3 reversals there, so worth noting there. Defensive grappling, you're going to want to pay attention to this. Strike, we talked about that. Defensive grappling, he's seen 0.8 takedown attempts against in round 1. 1 attempt in round 2 on average, and 2 attempts in round 3, allowing 0.7 in round 1 and 1 in round 2. In his UFC career, Malcolm Gordon has seen 11 takedown attempts against. 10 of them have been successful. Now, mind you, looks like 7 of them were against Mokaev. So Mokaev goes 6 and 7 in takedown attempts, but he did give up a takedown to Amir Abazi, also Francisco Figueiredo as well. So I get the Mokaev, obviously a strong grappler there, but worth noting those numbers. Jimmy Flick offensive grappling, he has attempted 8 takedowns, only successful in 1 of them. Again, this is in his UFC career. Charles Johnson, pretty big. Costa, pretty big as well. Takedowns by around 2.3 takedown attempts in round number 1. 1 attempt in round number 2, only 0.3 success rate for Jimmy Flick in round number 1. Does go for a high level number of submission attempts. Cody Durden there. So this is not including, or maybe it does. He had a flying triangle there, not including his Dana White Contender Series debut, where he had 3 or 4 submissions in round 1 there. Then defensive grappling, he's seen 2 takedown attempts against. 2 of them have been successful, both of them against Cody Durden. So again, not a huge sample size, but let's get into the fighting stats time breakdown here. If we go down to the chart here, Malcolm Gordon going to spend 79% of the time on the ground. Only 16% standing, 5% time in the clinch. So that was against Mokaev and Hadley. Again, Mokaev basically controlling him a lot on the ground there. Mokaev, when he did control him, 63% of the control time was in full guard. 36% of the time was in back guard when he was on top. And then ground is broken up a little bit different there. So Jimmy Flick, again, his sample size, move that one there. Jimmy Flick, his fight time there, we got 44% of the time he spent standing, 33% of them on the ground there, and 25% time in the clinch. When he is on top there, 41% of the time he was in half guard, and 46% of the time he was in full mount. So decent numbers there for full mount. That was against Ray Rodriguez, and then no bound time there. So we're going to go into the striking tendencies matchup there. We talked about Malcolm Gordon, Jimmy Flick. You can see 29% of Jimmy Flick's strikes are kicks. He does like that 1-2. He does pop out that jab. Malcolm Gordon here, he's going to look for the 1-1-2. That's his go-to strike 14% of the time. He throws that straight to 12% of the time, and the 1-2 10% of the time. Single jab about 7% of the time. So mixing up the straight punches between 1s and 2s, a lot of straight stuff there. Then he throws a 2-3-2 combo, double 2 combo as well. Not a lot of wide stuff from Malcolm Gordon. On the Jimmy Flick side, 24% of his strikes are going to be a jab, 16% of them is going to be a right cross, and then he likes that rear high kick, rear low kick, so 14% of the time is rear low kick, and 10% of the time is rear high kick, so 24% of the time he's throwing the right leg there. So that gives you a decent idea of what they want to do. Both guys really ground guys. Jimmy Flick's going to be probably the better BJJ guy. Let's go into how I think the fight's going to play out. So we saw both guys open up orthodox. We did see, again, we're talking about Malcolm Gordon throwing these 1-1-2s. What I saw in the tape was that Malcolm Gordon seems to really overextend. He does throw those long straight punches, but he stands way outside in kicking range and really throwing the 1-1-2. I found he was short most of the times when he's throwing the 1-1-2. He's trying to close the distance, 1-1-2, but he's pretty short, and he's really overextending and reaching. You can see, and go back to the breakdown that I saw, he's on his toes, really reaching for the 2. Sort of sets him up to get countered, to get level changed. Well, the other thing I noticed in the tape study, when Malcolm Gordon does come forward and throw, he really comes forward and throws. He's like running across, really, again, high up in the air, really open to getting countered, and really open to be level changed and taken down. We did see that in the Figueiredo fight. Figueiredo easily able to get those takedowns. Level change gets Malcolm Gordon on to his back. The reason I mentioned that is that Jimmy Flick, he's not really a striker, not really a boxer. If he does stand, he's going to stand in kicking range, and he's going to throw these high kicks and these low kicks that we just talked about. So if he's going to stand in kicking range, he's okay with standing there because Malcolm Gordon's going to be short on those 1 and 2s because, again, he's going to be in kicking range. So Jimmy Flick's going to be able to throw these kicks, right low kick, rear high kick. He's going to continue to throw these kicks. When Malcolm Gordon eventually decides to close the distance and blitz forward with a 1-2, I think Jimmy Flick's going to easily level change and get this guy down to the ground. Again, Malcolm Gordon has allowed 10 takedowns on 11 attempts. Not the greatest takedown defense, and it shows in the tape as well. Jimmy Flick, again, he's a ground guy. I know his takedown accuracy, not the greatest in the UFC, but in the regional scenes, pretty nice takedowns, nice level changes, works. We saw him on the Contender Series. Or I think they're, again, look for the takedown, the single leg, not able to get it, but chain wrestle to get the other takedown, and he's going from submission to submission. So I do think that eventually Jimmy Flick is going to get the takedown. So we'll stay with the stand-up tier. I think Jimmy Flick's going to throw a lot of kicks. I think Malcolm Gordon is going to throw those straight punches, 1-2. I don't know if Malcolm Gordon is going to want to go to the ground. We saw him try to attack a lot of takedowns against Figueiredo, against some other guys there as well. I don't think that's a wise idea to go to the ground with Jimmy Flick. So he's going to want to keep the fight standing. Again, just the way that he overcommits to the strikes, I think he can get taken down. On the feet, I don't think Malcolm Gordon has a ton of KO power. We haven't really seen him rock anybody. I think he's a little bit short on the strikes. Smaller sample size, but I don't think Malcolm Gordon does have a lot of KO power. The times that Jimmy Flick did get KO'd, mind you, it was from ground and pound. It wasn't standing shots. So keep that in mind. Jimmy Flick also keeps a very high guard up front. So if Malcolm Gordon does come forward, I think Jimmy Flick's going to keep that high guard. He might get 1 or 2 through the guard. I just don't think it's going to be KO worthy. So I think Jimmy Flick can stand with Malcolm Gordon. I don't think he's going to win the stand-up, but I think he can stand up. So now we go down to the ground game. I think that Jimmy Flick is going to have opportunities to level change, get Malcolm Gordon on the ground. Jimmy Flick on the ground, his specialty is arm triangle. He loves that arm triangle setup. He goes to it quite often. If he's not going for arm triangle, he's setting up a guillotine or some kind of Dar's choke. He's always looking for the front chokes, and he sort of attacks them. He goes from choke to choke. That's going to be his MO in this fight. We did see, I think, going back to the Gordon side, when he did get mounted, he did get mounted early in his UFC career. He got mounted, and right away, as soon as they got mounted, he rolls over and gives up his back. I think that's a recipe for disaster against Jimmy Flick. He can sink in that rear naked choke. Again, Jimmy Flick's always looking for the chokes. If he doesn't get the choke, though, I do think the ground and pound is live for Jimmy Flick as well. He does a really good job of moving from side control into mount. He gets his legs out. We see him in mount a lot. He rolls, his opponent rolls, and then he takes the back. He's good flowing. His top control isn't the greatest for Jimmy Flick, and that's because he's attempting submissions. He prioritizes submissions over position, so he'll not drop for guillotine, but he'll attack the submission. He'll give a little bit of space. Malcolm Gordon, we did see Malcolm Gordon reverse Mokaev on the ground, so it's possible Malcolm Gordon reverses. But off of his back, Jimmy Flick's always attacking triangles and stuff as well, or leg locks. I just don't think Malcolm Gordon wants anything to do with the ground here. If he does extend a long time on the ground, I think Jimmy Flick's going to end up finding a submission or possibly ground and pound here. So I kind of favor that side. I don't think that Malcolm Gordon has a striking acumen to really put Jimmy Flick away. Jimmy Flick against Costa and Charles Johnson, those guys were a lot bigger, able to stuff the takedowns. I don't know if Malcolm Gordon will be able to do that. So let's get into the numbers. Let's set our lines, see where the value is at. As always, I like to bring up my handy-dandy bankroll tracker worksheet sort of thing. So we have Malcolm Gordon here still on the blue side, the left side, Jimmy Flick on the right side. What I like to do is I like to go through the possible outcomes, assign a percentage value to them, and it will determine where the value is. We get a good idea before the props drop where the value and what we look for, so that in case those props do drop, we look for those bets right away. So again, starting with the Malcolm Gordon by KO. It's okay again because Jimmy Flick doesn't have the striking to match Gordon. Gordon's probably a little bit faster on the feet. Just again, his combinations of 1-1-1-2 jab, a lot of straight punches. Not a recipe for KOs, but he should have the striking advantage. I'm gonna say about 10% just to get started off. 10 to 15% sounds about right. Malcolm Gordon to win by submission. I don't think it's very likely. I haven't seen very many submission attempts from Gordon. I think Jimmy Flick is going to be a lot better on the ground. I doubt he finds a submission, so we're going to leave it at 0% for now. Malcolm Gordon to win by decision, I think it's probably his most likely path, to be honest. If he does keep the fight standing, he could fight a perfect game plan. He stays on the outside, pops some jabs, keeps the distance, maybe if he does get taken down, he pops back up and he makes his way to a unanimous decision type sort of thing. So I'm going to leave it about 20%, let's give it 25%. Malcolm Gordon could possibly win a decision. It looks a little bit short on that side, but we're going to continue on the Flick side, and then we're going to fill in the blanks. Jimmy Flick to win by TKO. It's not likely to be on the feet, I'll be honest. He doesn't throw a ton of power on the feet as well, just like Malcolm Gordon. So I don't think it is likely on the feet, but I do think it's possible on ground and pound. So if Jimmy Flick can move to mount, he can throw some ground and pound. Normally the ground and pound is to open up the submission. So I can't see being more than 10%, 5%. I want to say, okay, we'll give him 5% just because if you go back and watch when Malcolm Gordon did lose by KO, he got shot to the body and right away he went down, didn't fight back. The strike when he got knocked out, he got hit to the head, I think, right away went down, didn't cover up, didn't fight back. So I think Jimmy Flick could win by KO. I don't think it's likely. I think if anything, it might be a kick to the body. Again, he does look for that rear kick to the body or a high kick sort of thing. I don't think it comes from a hand. So I'm okay with leaving it at 10%. I don't want to go more and say Jimmy Flick has more of a chance of winning by KO than Malcolm Gordon. Win by submission. Honestly, I think that's a big path for Jimmy Flick. He's just so smooth on the ground. I think he'll get the opportunities when on the ground. He'll go for his arm triangle. If he doesn't, even from the bottom, he'll throw up a triangle from bottom. He'll roll for a leg lock from the bottom. He'll use it to sweep. I think on the ground, it's pretty likely that he could get the submission. I'm going to leave it right now at 30%. We're going to see if we can, if we need to adjust it. And then Jimmy Flick to win by decision. I think for Jimmy Flick to win by decision, that means that Malcolm Gordon did a good job of defending the submission, keeping him off him, either getting back up because again, I think Jimmy Flick is going to get him down. Malcolm Gordon either pops back up but loses time in control, or somehow fends off these submissions but ends up spending a lot of time off his back, which again is possible. We have seen Malcolm Gordon pretty complacent off of his back as well, not too busy off of his back, so I can see a time where Jimmy Flick wins off from top control as well. So if he's going to win by submission here, I'm going to say win by decision. I want to say closer to 20%, I'll be honest. So we have 60% for Flick, 35% for Malcolm Gordon. We're short 5%. I'm okay with moving the Malcolm Gordon KO up 5%. I was between 10 or 15% there. I'll read it off. You tell me in the comments if it completely sounds off. But Malcolm Gordon to win by KO, 15%. Malcolm Gordon to win by submission, 0%. Malcolm Gordon to win by decision, 25%, for a total money line of 40%. Or odds of plus 150 or better. On the Jimmy Flick side, Jimmy Flick to win by TKO, 10%. Jimmy Flick to win by submission, 30%. And win by decision, 20%. I'm okay with even moving 30% to 35%, taking 5% away from decision. But I think I'll leave it as is there for a total Jimmy Flick money line of about 60% or a line of minus 150 or better. Worth noting, Malcolm Gordon inside the distance, only 15% or plus 560. Jimmy Flick inside the distance, 40% or plus 150. Fight to go to decision, not to go to decision. We have 55% not to go to decision at minus 122, 45% to go to decision at plus 122. So we'll keep an eye on those lines, see how they go, but we're ready to pounce on the prop lines once they get released. Now, I'm going to pull up the actual odds because I haven't checked the odds recently. We go to fightodds.io. Sorry about that. I'm going to see the Jimmy Flick line, see where it's at now. Go down to UFC 297 here. Jimmy Flick, plus 110. Opened up minus 101, shot up to 105, down to minus 105, back up to 110. Not bad. Malcolm Gordon minus 130. Okay, so I'm going to put that into the tracker. Plus 130, minus 110. Here, plus 110, minus 130. So if we use our 8th Kelly criterion calculator at odds of plus 110, we capped it around minus 150. Kelly criterion is recommending, 8th Kelly criterion is recommending a 3% play or a 3-unit play on Jimmy Flick. I'll be honest, I'm not completely against it. I watched the Malcolm Gordon tape first. Nothing really impressed me from Malcolm Gordon. I was hoping Jimmy Flick would be a little bit better on the feet, and that's my only really hesitation. The other hesitation I have is Jimmy Flick did retire in 2020 or 2021 and has come back from retirement, put a couple of losses together. He has 2 losses since his retirement. So I don't know mentally where he's at. And, obviously those are question marks. He can't really put it into the capping, but those are my only red flags, is that where is he mentally? He did want to retire. You don't know where he's at right now. Malcolm Gordon, though, I think he could be honestly 0-6 in the UFC. I think Figueiredo gave away that fight by jumping for the heel hook in round 1. And then in round 3, knowing that Malcolm Gordon wants to get him down, he opens with a flying knee, ends up on bottom. Malcolm Gordon able to ride some top time for the decision win. So if Figueiredo doesn't do that, he was winning the stand-up. He was keeping the fight standing. He should have won that fight. And then the arm break, it happens. Malcolm Gordon gets credited with a TKO win, but it's really just an arm break from posting on the ground. Again, easily could have gone 0-6 in the UFC. So I like the Jimmy Flick side. In these matchups here, I'm going to take the dog most of the time anyway. But I do think Jimmy Flick should be a slight favorite as well. So I think that side could be the value side. I'm going to be looking at some props when they come out as well. So stay tuned. You won't want to miss it. My name is Artsy. I hope you liked the breakdown. Let me know below if you found it useful, and then we'll go into it from there. My name is Artsy. This is Fighting Stats. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching. All right, guys. Well, that is it for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this sort of content, make sure you smash the like button. Hit the subscribe. You'll get notified anytime we put out new content. And remember, here at Fighting Stats, I lead a team of expert data scientists. We are working around the clock to produce these exclusive UFC stats, not available anywhere else. We do our tape study. We pair them with our stats. We put out our best bets. We put our best bets to patreon.com/fighting stats. That's where we put all our analysis, all of our stats. Join patreon.com/fighting stats to get exclusive access. Recently, we just hit $82,000. Yes, that's right. $82,000 parlay on one fight. We used our fighting stats to get there, and we won a massive payday. Our Patreon members had exclusive access to that, so they shared in the profits there. So don't miss out. Make sure you subscribe today. Again, my name is Art C. This is Fighting Stats. Thanks for watching.